I didn't look up from my book. The sun was warm on my shoulders, the poolside lounger was perfectly positioned in the shade, and I was 3 chapters into a thriller I'd been meaning to read for months. My brother's voice carried across the water, but I'd learned a long time ago how to tune him out. Let him laugh. Let him perform for his friends. It didn't matter anymore. The resort director, Thomas Whitmore, appeared beside my chair with his usual impeccable timing. Navy suit despite the heat, tablet in hand, expression politely neutral. "Miss Hartwell," he said quietly. "I apologize for the interruption, but the architectural team has finalized the expansion plans. They're requesting your approval before the 3 p.m. deadline." My brother's laughter stopped mid-sentence. I set down my book and took the tablet. "The spa wing or the conference center?" "Both actually. And the additional villa complex." "Let me see the renderings." Thomas swiped through the images. "Beautiful. Exactly what I'd envisioned when I'd bought this place 3 years ago." "Approved," I said, signing with my finger. "Tell them to proceed with Phase 1 immediately." "Of course. And Miss Hartwell?" "The senator's office called. They'd like to confirm your attendance at the fundraiser next month." "Confirm it. Add it to my calendar." "Already done. Anything else you need?" "I'm good, Thomas. Thank you." He nodded and walked away, his footsteps silent on the Italian tile. I picked up my book. The silence from my brother's direction was deafening. I was always the disappointment. When I was 7 and Ethan was 10, Dad bought him a junior golf membership at Pinehurst Country Club. $12,000 a year plus equipment plus lessons. Ethan was naturally talented, Dad said. A future champion. I asked if I could try golf too. Mom patted my head. "Golf is expensive, Willow. And it's really more of a boy's sport anyway. Why don't you try something else?" I joined the YMCA swim team instead. It cost $85 for the season. I paid for it myself with money from babysitting. I won regionals 2 years in a row. Nobody from my family came to watch. When Ethan was 16, Dad took him on a tour of prestigious prep schools. They visited 7 schools in 3 states. Ethan chose Ashford Academy. Tuition $48,000 a year, not including room and board. "Only the best for our son," Dad said at dinner, raising his wine glass. "This is an investment in excellence." When I was 16, Mom enrolled me in the local public school. "You'll get a perfectly good education," she said. "Not everyone needs fancy schools." I graduated valedictorian. Dad missed the graduation for Ethan's lacrosse tournament. Ethan's team lost in the first round. When Ethan was 22, fresh out of college with mediocre grades and no direction, Dad gave him a VP position at Hartwell Property Group, our family's real estate investment firm. $110,000 starting salary plus bonuses. "Ethan needs to learn the business," Dad explained. "He's going to run this company someday." When I was 22 with a degree in hospitality management, paid for with scholarships and student loans, I asked Dad if there was a position for me at the company. He looked uncomfortable. "Willow, honey, we don't really have anything at your level right now. Why don't you get some experience elsewhere first? Work your way up." Ethan had no experience. "That's different. He's being groomed for leadership. And I'm not." Dad sighed. "You're a smart girl, Willow. But this is a male-dominated industry. I'm just being realistic about your prospects." I got a job as a front desk clerk at a Marriott. $28,000 a year. Ethan bought a Porsche with his first year's bonus. The worst memory was my 25th birthday. The family met for dinner at an upscale steakhouse. Ethan's choice, Ethan's favorite place. "So Willow," Uncle James asked, cutting into his ribeye, "still working at the hotel?" "Yes," I said. "She's actually a supervisor now," Mom added like she was trying to help. "Oh, that's nice. And Ethan, I heard you closed that big deal in Charlotte." Ethan smiled. 14-unit apartment complex. $8.7 million purchase. Dad's teaching me commercial acquisition. Excellent, excellent. Uncle James turned to me. "You know, Willow, there's no shame in regular work. The world needs hotel staff. Not everyone can be a high achiever like your brother." I set down my fork very carefully. "You're right," I said. "Not everyone can." Ethan smirked. That was 5 years ago. What my family never bothered to learn was that I wasn't just working at the Marriott. I was studying it. Every system. Every process. Every inefficiency. Every revenue stream they were missing. Every guest complaint that revealed an opportunity. At 23, I noticed the hotel was losing money on its restaurant. The space was beautiful, the location was perfect, but the execution was terrible. I wrote a detailed proposal to the GM, outsourced to a local chef, adjust the menu, change the pricing structure. He implemented it. Revenue increased 47% in 3 months. He promoted me to operations coordinator and gave me a $6,000 raise. At 24, I did the same thing with the event space. We were booking maybe 40% capacity. I identified the problem. Our marketing was targeting the wrong demographic. I redesigned the entire strategy. Event bookings increased 83% in 6 months. The GM called me into his office. "Willow, you're not just good at this. You're exceptional. Have you ever thought about consulting?" I had. Every single day. At 25, I quit the Marriott. I took $35,000 I'd saved, every penny from 5 years of work, and I started a consulting business. Hartwell Hospitality Solutions. The name was intentional. I wanted to see if my father would notice. He didn't. My first client was a struggling bed and breakfast in Asheville. They were 3 months from bankruptcy. I spent 2 weeks analyzing their operation, redesigned their entire guest experience, and restructured their pricing. They were profitable within 90 days. They paid me $8,000 and referred me to 2 other properties. By 26, I had 11 clients. Small properties mostly, boutique hotels, B&Bs, small resorts. I was making $140,000 a year in consulting fees. At 27, I took on a bigger project. A 120-room hotel in Charleston that was losing $85,000 a month. The owners were desperate. I spent 4 months rebuilding their entire operation from the ground up. Within a year they were profitable. They paid me $95,000 in fees and a percentage of their turnaround profits. Another $47,000. That's when I stopped consulting and started buying. The first property I bought was a 24-room boutique hotel in Savannah. It was beautiful but mismanaged. Occupancy at 31%, bleeding money, headed for foreclosure. I bought it for $2.8 million. I put down $850,000, every dollar I had, and financed the rest. Everyone thought I was insane. "Willow," Mom said when she somehow heard about it, "that's a huge risk. What if it fails?" "It won't," I said. "But the debt. I know what I'm doing." She didn't believe me. I could hear it in her voice. I turned that hotel around in 11 months. Redesigned the rooms, retrained the staff, rebuilt the marketing. Occupancy hit 87%. Revenue increased 340%. I refinanced at the higher valuation and pulled out $1.2 million in equity. I bought a second property. Then a third. By 30, I owned 6 properties across the Southeast. Total portfolio value, $23 million. I'd built a small management company, 14 employees, that ran all 6 hotels. My family still thought I worked in hotel management. They weren't entirely wrong, I suppose. At 31, everything changed. A 127-acre resort in the Blue Ridge Mountains came on the market. Azalea Ridge Resort. It had been a high-end destination in the 1980s. Tennis courts, golf course, spa, 3 restaurants, 180 rooms. Now it was bankrupt. The facilities were outdated. The brand was dead. It was a disaster. The asking price was $34 million. Nobody wanted it. Too much work, too much risk. I spent 3 days walking the property. I saw what it could be. I made an offer. $28 million with $8 million down and seller financing on the rest. They accepted. Everyone in the industry thought I'd destroyed my career. "That property is cursed," a colleague told me. 3 owners have gone bankrupt trying to save it. I spent $11 million renovating. New rooms, new restaurants, new spa, updated golf course. I rebranded it as Azalea Ridge Resort and Club, a members-only destination resort with limited public access. Membership fees. $85,000 initiation, $12,000 annually. People said I was crazy. Nobody would pay that in the mountains. I sold 340 memberships in the first year. That was 3 years ago. Today, Azalea Ridge Resort and Club is valued at $95 million. We have 820 members. We're consistently rated one of the top resorts in the Southeast. We have a waiting list of 240 families. I own 100% of it. My family still doesn't know. 2 weeks ago I got a text from Mom. Family gathering at Azalea Ridge July 20th to 22nd. Your father's 65th birthday. You should come. Ethan's treating us, he's a member now. I stared at that text for a long time. Ethan was a member of my resort, using the membership Dad had probably paid for as a gift. The irony was almost beautiful. I checked the reservations system. Sure enough, Ethan Hartwell. Executive Villa 3 nights. Plus a cabana reservation by the pool for Saturday afternoon. I texted back, I'll be there. Mom responded immediately, oh wonderful. We haven't seen you in so long. You can stay in one of the regular rooms. Ethan's villa is the nice one. I'll make arrangements, I texted. I had Thomas book me into the owner's residence. A private 4,000 square foot villa on the property that wasn't available to guests or members. Only I stayed there. I drove up Friday afternoon. Checked in through the private entrance. Unpacked. Changed into a simple sundress and sandals. Then I walked down to the main pool. The scene was exactly what I'd expected. Dad in a resort polo shirt, holding court from a premium lounger. Mom beside him wearing designer sunglasses and a sun hat. Uncle James and Aunt Carol occupying 2 more loungers. And Ethan standing by the infinity pool with 3 of his friends, all of them holding craft cocktails and laughing loudly. I took a lounger on the far side. Close enough to hear, far enough to avoid immediate interaction. A server appeared instantly. Miss Hart, she started, then caught herself. Can I get you anything? I'd trained the staff well. My identity was strictly confidential. Guest privacy was paramount, but owner privacy was absolute. Iced tea please, I said. Unsweetened. Right away. I pulled out my book and started reading. Ethan's voice carried across the pool. This place is incredible, right? One of the most exclusive resorts in the region. You basically have to know someone to even get on the waiting list. His friends made impressed noises. The membership fee is insane, one of them said. Like 6 figures just to join? 85,000 initiation, Ethan said proudly. Then 12,000 a year. But it's worth it. The networking alone is incredible. I've already met 2 potential investors for Dad's new development project. I turned a page. How'd you get in? Another friend asked. Dad knows the right people, Ethan said. Called in some favors. We're actually one of the original member families from when it reopened 3 years ago. That was a lie. I checked the records last night. Ethan's membership was approved 8 months ago after sitting on the waiting list for 19 months. This is the life, man, one friend said. Did you see the golf course? Pristine. Playing 18 holes tomorrow, Ethan said. You guys should join. What about your sister? Someone asked. Is she coming? Ethan laughed. Willow. Yeah, she's around somewhere. Probably in one of the basic rooms. She's not a member? God no. She can barely afford a vacation, let alone an $85,000 membership fee. I think Dad got her a guest pass for the weekend. Kind of a pity invite, you know? His friends laughed. That's harsh, man, one said, but he was smiling. It's reality, Ethan said. Willow's a sweet person, but she's never been ambitious. She works in hospitality, like managing a hotel or something. Makes probably $50,000-$60,000 a year. She's comfortable, but this place. He gestured around. This is out of her league. I took a sip of my iced tea. She's probably using a guest pass, Ethan continued. Walking around trying to look like she belongs. It's kind of sad, honestly. Mom appeared then, walking over to Ethan. Honey, have you seen your sister yet? Not yet. Why? She texted that she's here. I told her we're all by the pool. I'm sure she'll find us, Ethan said dismissively. This place isn't that big. Well, when you see her, be nice, Mom said. She doesn't get to experience places like this very often. This is special for her. Sure, Mom. Mom walked back to her lounger. Ethan turned to his friends. See what I mean? Even Mom feels bad for her. I finished my chapter. Thomas appeared beside my chair, right on schedule. I texted him 5 minutes ago. Miss Hartwell, he said, his voice low but not quiet enough. I apologize for the interruption. but the architectural team has finalized the expansion plans. They're requesting your approval before the 3 p.m. deadline. The conversations around the pool stopped. Ethan turned around. He saw me for the first time. "Willow," he said. "When did you?" I held up one finger. Not rudely. Wait. Thomas handed me his tablet. The spa wing, conference center, and additional villa complex. All 3 phases. I swiped through the renderings. The spa expansion was beautiful. 14,000 square feet, 12 treatment rooms, thermal pools. The conference center would accommodate events up to 500 people. The villas were stunning, 8 new units, each over 3,000 square feet. Budget confirmation? I asked. $23.7 million total for all 3 phases. Financing is already arranged through First National. Construction timeline is 19 months. And we're confident on the member demand? We have 63 families on the waiting list specifically requesting expanded amenities. The conference center alone will generate an estimated $4.2 million in annual revenue. I signed the approval. Tell the team to proceed. I want weekly updates during construction. Of course. And Ms. Hartwell? The senator's office called. They'd like to confirm your attendance at the fundraiser next month. They're hoping you'll consider increasing your contribution to the education initiative. What was last year's amount? $50,000. Make it $75,000 this year. Education funding is important. I'll confirm it. Anything else? I'm good, Thomas. Thank you. He nodded and walked away. I picked up my book. The silence was profound. Ethan was frozen, standing by the pool with his cocktail halfway to his mouth. His face had gone from tan to pale white. Dad had stood up from his lounger. "Willow." "What?" I looked up. "Oh, hi, Dad." "Hi, everyone." I smiled. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" "Did he?" Ethan's voice cracked. "Did he just call you Ms. Hartwell?" "Yes." "And he said, did he say expansion plans?" "And $23 million. $23.7 million, I corrected gently. The spa wing is a bit expensive, but the member surveys show overwhelming demand for enhanced wellness facilities. Mom had walked over, confusion written across her face. "Honey, I don't understand." "Who was that man?" "Thomas Whitmore. He's the resort director." "Why is he calling you Miss Hartwell?" "Because that's my name." Ethan's drink slipped from his hand. The glass shattered on the tile. A server appeared immediately to clean it up. Ethan couldn't form words. You can't be." Uncle James stood up. "Willow, are you saying you work here?" "Not exactly," I said. "Then what?" "I own it." The pool area went completely silent. Even the background music seemed to fade. Dad's face went through several expressions very quickly. Confusion. Disbelief. "But you own what?" "Azalea Ridge Resort and Club," I said calmly. "I bought it 3 years ago for $28 million. Spent $11 million on renovations. Current valuation is $95 million. We have 820 members paying $12,000 annually, plus the initiation fees, plus revenue from the restaurants, golf course, spa, and events. Last year's gross revenue was $31.2 million. Nobody moved. I also own 6 other boutique hotels across the Southeast," I continued. Total portfolio value is approximately $134 million. But Azalea Ridge is the flagship property. Ethan sat down heavily on a lounger. His face was white. Dad started. "That's not possible. Where would you get?" "I built a consulting business first," I said. "Hospitality operations. I got very good at turning around failing properties. Made enough to buy my first hotel, then leveraged that to buy more. When Azalea Ridge went on the market, I saw the potential." Mom sat down next to Dad. He looked dizzy. $95 million, she whispered. "Current valuation, yes. Though after the expansion, we're projecting it'll increase to approximately $118 million. One of Ethan's friends cleared his throat. "So when Ethan said his sister works in hospitality." "I do work in hospitality," I said. "I own 8 hospitality properties. And the membership he's so proud of. Costs $85,000 to initiate," I confirmed. plus $12,000 annually. Ethan's on the books. Joined 8 months ago after 19 months on the waiting list. Ethan made a sound that might have been a groan. Wait, Uncle James said. You've owned this place for 3 years? Yes. And you never told us? You never asked what I was doing, I said simply. When we saw each other at Christmas 2 years ago, Uncle James, you asked if I was still working at that hotel. I said yes. Because I was working on this hotel. But you didn't ask for details, so I didn't elaborate. Willow, Dad said, his voice strange. Why didn't you tell us? We're your family. I set down my book. Dad, I said quietly, when I was 22 and asked for a job at Hartwell Property Group, what did you say? He opened his mouth. Closed it. You said I should get experience elsewhere first. Work my way up. That the real estate industry was male-dominated and you were being realistic about my prospects. I was trying to protect you. You were telling me I wasn't good enough. That's not. Ethan got a VP position with no experience. I had a degree and a proven track record at Marriott. But you gave him $110,000 and a company car. You gave me advice to lower my expectations. The pool area was silent. When I bought my first property, I continued, Mom told me it was a huge risk and asked what would happen if I failed. Nobody asked what would happen if I succeeded. Mom looked like she might cry. At Uncle James's birthday party last year, I said, Aunt Carol asked me if I was still working reception at hotels. I told her I was in management. She patted my hand and said there was no shame in regular work. That not everyone could be ambitious like Ethan. Aunt Carol's face had gone red. 3 months ago, I said, looking at Ethan, you posted on Facebook about making the deal of a lifetime, a $3.2 million property acquisition. Dad commented that he was proud. Mom commented heart emojis. I'd closed a $14 million financing deal that same week for this expansion. Nobody asked how my work was going. Ethan stared at the ground. You stopped seeing me, I said. All of you. You decided who I was. The disappointing daughter, the underachieving sister, the one who needed pity invites to nice places. So I stopped trying to prove otherwise. I just built my life. Without you. Willow, Mom said, tears in her eyes now. We didn't mean to. You did, I said. Not angrily. Just factually. You meant every comparison. Every dismissal. Every time you celebrated Ethan and forgot to ask about me. Those weren't accidents. Those were choices. Thomas appeared again. Miss Hartwell? I apologize, but the contractor for the spa renovation just arrived. He's requesting a brief walkthrough to confirm the south wing measurements. Of course. Tell him I'll be there in 10 minutes. Thank you. Thomas left. I stood up, gathering my book and sunglasses. Where are you going? Dad asked. I have a resort to run, I said. You're all welcome to enjoy your stay. Ethan, your membership is valid and in good standing. The birthday dinner tonight is at 7 p.m. in the main dining room. I've reserved the private section for the family. You're not coming? Mom asked. I'll make an appearance, I said. But I have a conference call with investors at 8 p.m. New property acquisition in Asheville. $47 million. I started walking toward the main building. Willow, wait, Ethan called. I turned back. He'd stood up. His friends had diplomatically moved away, giving us space. He started. I'm sorry. For what I said. About the guest pass and all of it. I looked at him. My big brother. The golden child. The chosen one. He looked smaller somehow. Ethan, I said, you told your friends I was sad. That I was trying to look like I belonged. Do you remember that? He nodded, miserable. The thing is, I said, I don't have to try to belong here. I built this place. Every tile you're standing on, every pool you're swimming in, every meal you'll eat tonight, I chose it. I funded it. I created it. This resort exists because I made it exist. I paused. I don't need to belong. Everyone else needs permission to be here. But not me. This is mine. I walked away. The family gathering ended Sunday morning. Ethan and his friends checked out early. Something about a work emergency. Dad and Mom stayed until checkout time, wandering the grounds like they were seeing it for the first time. Maybe they were. Sunday afternoon I was in my office. A beautiful space overlooking the golf course, decorated in soft blues and warm woods, when Thomas knocked. "Your father is requesting a meeting," he said. I looked up from my laptop. Did he say what about? No. But he seems subdued. I considered it. Send him up. 5 minutes later, Dad walked into my office. He looked older than he had on Friday. Tired. "This is beautiful," he said, looking around. "Your office." "Thank you. Can we talk?" I gestured to the chair across from my desk. He sat down slowly. We were silent for a moment. "I was wrong," Dad said finally. "About you. About your potential. About everything." I didn't respond. "I convinced myself I was being protective," he continued. "That I was preparing you for reality. But the truth is I didn't see you. I saw what I expected to see, a daughter who would be smaller than her brother. Who would need protection, not opportunity." "Why?" I asked. "I don't know," he said. "Ethan was easy. He was confident, outgoing, ambitious. You were quiet. You didn't demand attention. And I think," he paused. "I think I let that be an excuse. I gave him everything because he asked for it. I gave you nothing because you didn't fight for it. That's not a reason. That's an excuse." "I know." He looked at me. "I failed you. As a father. I failed to see your strength because I was too busy celebrating Ethan's presence." I leaned back in my chair. "Do you know what the worst part was?" I asked. "Tell me." "It wasn't the money or the opportunities you gave Ethan instead of me. It was the belief. You believed in him automatically. But me, I had to earn it. And when I tried, you told me to be realistic." Dad's eyes were wet. "You taught me that my family wouldn't support me," I said. "So I learned to support myself. And I built something bigger than anything you ever gave Ethan." "I know," he whispered. "I didn't do it for revenge," I said. "I did it because I had to prove to myself that I was capable. That I was worth something. That I could succeed without your approval." "And you did." "Yes. I did." We sat in silence. "Is there any way," Dad asked quietly, "to make this right?" I thought about it. "I don't know," I said honestly. "You can't give me back 20 years of feeling less than. You can't undo the comparisons or the dismissals or the times you forgot I existed." "I know. But," I said, "you can start now. You can see me. Actually see me. Not as the daughter who disappointed you or the sister who wasn't as good as her brother. But as who I actually am. A woman who built an empire," Dad said. "A woman who built herself," I corrected. He nodded. "I'd like to try," he said. "If you'll let me." I looked at my father. This man who'd shaped so much of my life by what he'd withheld. "I'll think about it," I said. It wasn't yes. But it wasn't no. He nodded and stood. "Thank you for talking with me." "Dad," I said as he reached the door. He turned back. "For what it's worth," I said, "I didn't need your belief to succeed. But it would have made the journey less lonely." His face crumbled. "I'm sorry." "I know." He left. I turned back to my laptop. The Asheville property acquisition documents were waiting for my review. $47 million purchase price. 95 rooms, historic building in downtown. Perfect for conversion to a boutique hotel. My phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. "Can we talk?" No excuses. No explanations. Just, "Can we talk?" I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed, "Next month. I'm busy until then." His response came immediately, "I'll wait." I put my phone down and returned to the acquisition documents. Maybe someday I'd let them back in. Maybe someday we'd find a way to be a family that actually saw each other. But today wasn't that day. Today I had an empire to build. And I was doing just fine on my own. The expansion broke ground in October. The spa wing, conference center, and new villas were all under construction. The property was buzzing with controlled chaos. Construction crews, architects, designers, contractors. I walked the site every morning, coffee in hand, reviewing progress. Thomas found me by the spa foundation one morning. "Miss Hartwell, the Wall Street Journal is here for the interview." Right. I'd agreed to be profiled for their Women in Hospitality feature. "Give me 5 minutes," I said. The interview took place in my office. The journalist was sharp, well-prepared, Asked excellent questions about my acquisition strategy and operational philosophy. One last question, she said. You come from a family in real estate. Did they support your move into hospitality? I smiled. They support me now. It was even sort of true. Dad and I had dinner once a month now. Awkward at first, getting easier. He asked about my properties. Actually listened to the answers. Still had a long way to go, but we were trying. Ethan and I texted occasionally. Surface level stuff mostly. But last week he'd sent me an article about hospitality industry trends with a note. Thought you might find this interesting. It was progress. Mom called every Sunday. Told me about her garden, her book club, asked about the resort. He was trying. They were all trying. But the distance remained. Maybe it always would. The article came out 3 weeks later. Full-page feature, beautiful photos of the resort, quotes about building success on your own terms. My phone exploded with messages. Former colleagues. Industry contacts. Old friends I hadn't spoken to in years. And one text from Dad. We should have believed in you from the beginning. I'm sorry we didn't. But I'm proud of you now. So proud. I read it twice. Then I typed back, thank you. That means something. And it did. Not everything. But something. That evening I stood on the balcony of my villa, watching the sun set over the mountains. My mountains. My resort. My empire. I'd built it alone. I'd built it without support, without investment, without belief from the people who were supposed to give me those things automatically. And I'd built it better than anything they could have imagined. I didn't need their approval anymore. But I'd earned it anyway. And that felt perfect.